Hi, my name is Kathleen Robles. I will be presenting the results of an analysis of variance procedure prepared for the class ED850 using SPSS for the data and PowerPoint for the presentation. The title of this presentation is Exploring the Relationship Between Student-Faculty Interaction and Race for Males at the Community College Level. Statement of the problem. Rates of post-secondary non-completion among community college students are dismally low. 34% of all college students graduate with a degree from a 2- or 4-year college, and the rate is even lower for minority students. Various factors contribute to non-completion, including the quantity and/or quality of student-faculty interaction. Research demonstrates that student-faculty interaction is one of the key aspects to student retention and persistence. Purpose. Research points to a relationship between student-faculty interaction and completion. The purpose of this study is to examine whether differences exist between student-faculty interaction and race based on 3 ethnic groups, Black, White, and Mexican, and focusing on male students at the community college level. Importance. The findings of this study will help determine whether differences exist between student-faculty interaction and race for male students at the community college level. The outcome will help guide future research to identify factors that contribute to these differences. Research question. The guiding research question is there a relationship between faculty or student-faculty interaction and race? To answer the guiding research question, 3 sub-questions have been created based on the Community College Survey of Men, the CCSM. Is there a relationship between student-faculty frequency of interaction, talk with professor inside and outside of classroom, and student race? Is there a relationship between faculty providing a welcoming environment that promotes student participation and race? And is there a relationship between the approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction and race? Theoretical framework. The theoretical framework for this particular study exercise is Tinto's 1975 theory of student departure. Tinto's theory explains student retention. Students who integrate socially into the community of the college campus become more committed to that institution, making graduation more likely. He looked at 2 areas of integration, academic integration and social integration. Academic integration meaning compliance with explicit norms, passing grades, following policy in residence hall, etc. Compliance with normative values, valuing arts over sciences for an art student. And social integration. Student finds the institution aligns with individual background, values, and aspirations, and measured by peer-to-peer interactions and faculty-student interactions. Tinto based his model on Van Gennep's 1960 anthropological model of cultural rites of passage. Tinto believes students must separate from the group in which they were formerly associated, undergo a transition, and incorporate and adopt the normative behaviors of the new group. Arnold van Gennep was the first ethnographer to observe that the ritual ceremonies accompanying the various stations of human life are universal. They differ only in detail from one culture to another. Theoretical framework continued. I also incorporated Aston's 1984 theory of student involvement into this exercise. Aston proposed that students become more academically and socially proficient the more they are involved in the academic and social aspects of the college experience. He defined involved students as those who participate actively in student organizations, spend considerable time on campus, interact often with faculty inside and outside of the classroom, and devote considerable time to studying. Frequent interaction with faculty is more strongly related to satisfaction with college than any other type of involvement or, indeed, any other student or institutional characteristic. Methods. Data from this study was derived from the Community College Survey of Men, the CCSM. The CCSM is the only instrument designed for measuring factors that influence minority male student success at the community college level. The CCSM has been distributed at 60 colleges throughout the country to 11,000 men. For purposes of this study, the subjects were limited to a total N of 813, comprising 3 ethnic groups in urban community colleges in Southern California. Black students equaled 212, White students equal 229, and Mexican students equal 372. Analyses were conducted using 1/3 analysis of variance, or ANOVA. Post hoc tests were performed using Bonferroni, and in the case where homogeneity of variance was violated, done at C. Methods, variables. 3 separate composite dependent variables were, number 1, student-faculty frequency of interaction, talk with professor inside and outside of classroom, faculty providing a welcoming environment that encourages student class participation, and approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction. For this study, the independent variable is race, Black, white, and Mexican. Results. Analysis 1, student-faculty frequency of interaction. For analysis 1, student-faculty frequency of interaction, I ran tests of normality to check whether the outcome variable, the dependent variable, was normally distributed for each of the populations or whether the second assumption for ANOVA was violated. The Shapiro-Wilk test shows a p-value of less than 0.05 at 0.000, which indicates the assumption was violated. Next, I looked at the histograms for student-faculty frequency of interaction in all 3 categories of race, white, Black, and Mexican. The histograms do not demonstrate normal bell curve distributions, therefore we can assume that the data are non-normal. Not a normal bell curve for white, not a normal bell curve for Mexican, not a normal bell curve for Black. Next, I looked at the box plots to see if the third assumption of ANOVA was violated, homogeneity of variance in the dependent variable for all factors. The box plots didn't look too bad, but there was somewhat of a difference, so I proceeded with the formal test for this assumption. I checked to see if the homogeneity of variance in the dependent variable for all factors had been violated using the Levine's test, the formal test for this assumption. The p-value is 0.004, indicating that it is significant, so we have violated the assumption of homogeneity of variance in the dependent variable for all factors. This means that the range of scores in particular are not similar. Because ANOVA is a robust procedure, using the correct procedures with a respectable sample size, we can have data that violates from a small to moderate degree our assumption of normality and homogeneity of variance and still get a fairly accurate result. Here we see multiple comparisons, and here we see ANOVA. To calculate an effect size called eta squared, I calculated the effect of between group sum of squares and total sum of squares. And we can see here eta squared effect size and interpretation, 0.01 equals a small effect size, 0.06 medium, and 0.14 large. In this case, we divided 448.65 by 18790.568, and we get 0.023. The effect size is small. Based on the post hoc multiple comparisons, the effect size and the means plots, which is here, the largest differences in student-faculty frequency of interaction were between white and Black and Mexican and Black students. Therefore, white and Black students have the largest difference in the frequency with which they interact with faculty. Mexican and Black students also showed a difference in frequency of interaction with faculty. We can see here white, Mexican, and Black. So the biggest differences were between white and Black students and Mexican and Black students. Results of analysis number 2. Faculty providing a welcoming environment that promotes student class participation. I ran tests of normality to check whether the outcome variable, the dependent variable, was normally distributed for each of the populations or whether the second assumption for ANOVA was violated. The Shapiro-Wilk test shows a p-value of less than 0.05, which indicates the assumption was violated. Here we see the 3 histograms for white, Black, and Mexican, or white, Mexican, and Black, and all 3 of them, again, do not show normal bell curves. With the second analysis, I looked at the box plots to see if the third assumption of ANOVA was violated, homogeneity of variance, in the dependent variable for all factors. The box plots were again not too bad looking, but I proceeded anyway with a formal test for this assumption to be certain. With the Levine test of homogeneity of variance, we can tell that the p-value is greater than 0.05, at 0.217, and therefore we have met our assumption of homogeneity. The null hypothesis was not violated. Here again we see multiple comparisons and the ANOVA output and means plots. For analysis 2, I ran post hoc tests with Bonferroni, and the mean differences between groups were small. Then I calculated eta squared to get an effect size of 0.003. The null hypothesis was met. Therefore, students, regardless of racial group, felt that faculty provided a welcoming environment that promotes student participation. This was not the result I was anticipating. However, it is good to know that faculty is creating a welcoming environment for student participation. Analysis 3. Approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction. I ran tests of normality and the Shapiro-Wilk test, which showed a p-value of less than 0.05, which is 0.000, and violates the assumption of normality for ANOVA. I looked at the histograms for approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction in all three categories of race, white, Mexican, and black. And the histograms do not demonstrate normal bell curve distributions, therefore we can assume that the data are non-normal. Here again we look at the box plots to see if the third assumption of ANOVA was violated, homogeneity of variance in the dependent variable for all factors. And the box plots were again not too bad looking, but I proceeded anyway with a formal test for the assumption to be certain. Here we see the Levine's test of homogeneity of variance, and we can tell that the p-value is greater than 0.05 at 0.109, and therefore we have met our assumption of homogeneity. The null hypothesis was not violated. Here we see multiple comparisons and the ANOVA output and means plots. And for analysis 3, I ran post hoc tests with Bonferroni, and the main differences are significant at the 0.05 level between Mexican and black students regarding the approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction. Then I calculated eta squared to get an effect size of 0.011, which is a small effect size. The means plots also reflect the differences between groups. Therefore, there is a significant difference between the way Mexican and black students interact with faculty outside of the classroom. Discussion. The researcher found that there does exist differences in the relationship between student-faculty interaction and race for males at the community college level, although the differences between groups were smaller than anticipated at the outset of the study. The main differences existed in the areas of student-faculty frequency of interaction between white and black and Mexican and black students, as well as between Mexican and black students regarding the approachability of faculty that elicits outside classroom student-faculty interaction. Faculty should have regular training, faculty development to facilitate the improvement of student-faculty interaction, both inside and outside the classroom, especially for students of color. Implications for future research. There shall continue to be interest in research that helps identify problematic areas that serve as contributing factors to non-completion at both 2- and 4-year colleges, particularly regarding students of color. The researcher is interested in what the findings might be if the same data were obtained for female students, black, white, and Mexican, and compared with the data obtained in this study on male students from the same three racial groups. The question remains, how can institutions of higher education find ways to continue to facilitate and improve student-faculty interaction, specifically among minority students? Questions. Here are some references. And thank you very much for watching this exercise in an analysis of variance procedure. Thanks again. Hope you have a great day.